All right, welcome back to Practical Wealth Podcast. It's our second episode.
Cool. Well, second episode, we're interviewing Jared, who's our other host, on
It's true.
this. I think just we want to learn a little bit about yourself, like what you've done, how you got here, and kind of how you started that journey.
Mm,
Because there's a story that obviously like people see on social media, people see online and stuff like that, but people don't know.
mm,
And I might learn things that I don't know about you too.
yep, yep. Well, it's certainly not as big and exciting as Lucas's was, and potentially not as challenging with some of those things that you had to overcome. But it's really normal. Like I had a really typical country rural upbringing. Always thought that I was going to become a builder. That was after I had to give up on the goal of being an All Black, which I realized quite late in life, I think.
Yeah.
Then I was like, all right, I'm pretty practical. I should probably do something with my hands, maybe building. And then all through my final year at high school, every week it was changing. Not once did I ever consider financial advice or ever even heard of the title. And then in my first year of university, I studied to be a strength and conditioning coach because I was always really into my sports and just living a healthy lifestyle. And I think this has actually ended up being quite formational for my financial advice as well, because the reason that I'm active is so that I can live a long, healthy life and go through that short term pain and discomfort so that I can live a longer and better life. And after I finished my study, which ended up being a bachelor's in sports coaching, majoring in physical education, so I was going to become a PE teacher. I ended up door knocking for same company as Lucas, Aurora Financial at the time. And door knocking, to anyone who's done it or hasn't done it, you probably can imagine it's not an easy job, and it's not something that I ever would have thought that I would have done, just based on, I mean, all of the things you can imagine that a door knocker has to face, and then also you having to face door knockers. They're not your favorite people to meet at the door. But doing that was a massive shock to me. The character building that you get from it, and the skills that you develop from being able to talk to somebody at the door who's never met you, and then convince them that it is worthwhile having a look at their financial situation with an advisor. It was just a really strange thing to have to experience. Um, and then after time, one of the financial advisors from Aurora Financial let me know that they wanted to do some more door knocking, wanted me to do some more door knocking for them, and I decided to have a go. And yeah, did that for about 6 months, and then I was at that crossroads of, all right, am I going to go do my PE teaching thing? Am I going to pursue PE teaching, or am I going to have a go at financial advice? And I was at that crossroads and was like, nah, I'm doing PE teaching. And then I jumped back and was like, nah, I'm doing financial
Yeah.
advice last minute, and just saw it as an opportunity to learn something that was just completely foreign to me, and just go on the deep end and just see what if, and how it would go. And I can, go back to teaching if I decide to.
Yeah.
And
I feel like that's the thing. Like, people get so caught up that the first job that they need out of university is their be all end all.
and that's how it felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you could always, like, you've got, was it like 40, yeah, 40 years of working.
Mm,
If something doesn't work out for the first 5 years, you still got 35 years to go.
mm,
So you might as well just give something a go. If it doesn't work out, then it's fine.
yeah. No, you're
It's just
you're
that,
exactly right.
it's just that pressure that everyone puts on people.
Yeah, and the pressure you put on yourself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you should
Yeah.
as well. Just to add to that point, I actually heard something the other day, which was quite profound for me, around a 60-year-old who had his whole career, and he was on the verge of retiring, and then he was starting to think that he's getting quite old, and that he should slow down and stop working and pick up gardening, and then he decided to go and study and do his PhD and then become an author, and it's just sort of shows you the how big life is. Life's short, but it's
Yeah.
also quite big. You can pick up a completely new career in your 60s, and then you've still got hopefully 20 odd years of
Yeah.
doing something completely different, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, back on track there. So yeah, did my qualification, got my certificate in financial advice, and jumped into it. And even though I had that experience door knocking, talking to people, it was quite daunting having to actually be the expert straight away. Um, in a lot of jobs, you do have a huge training program, and you have time to make mistakes. But with your first client as a financial advisor, it has to be perfect straight away. And that was a lot of pressure for me. And at the time, we we were doing all of our meetings face to face as well. So I would have to drive to the other side of Christchurch, knock on their door as a 21-year-old, and talk to you know, to me, a successful, and that they are successful, 45-year-old couple who's, why should they talk to this high school kid about what to do with their money, right? That was quite daunting, but um, in that conversation, I got, progressively more comfortable, and it clicked for me really early on that no matter what position people are in, they actually don't know a heck of a lot about money. Um, and they're listening to this high school kid about where to put their money, and they really appreciate it, they really respect it, and they're always really thankful for the information that you've given to them.
Mm.
And at that point, I was like, right, this is quite cool, and it sort of linked into my teaching passion as well, for just helping people to, better themselves long term.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah,
obviously you're working for cool founders,
yeah.
apparently.
Oh, that plays a part. Keep me around.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean that's massive as well. Like some of
Yeah.
the topics are, they can be pretty boring, and I think that's part of the reason as well as to why lots of Kiwis don't talk about it. Is because it's kind
Yeah.
of boring, like crunching the numbers and stuff like
Yeah.
that. They much rather talk about what the All Blacks are up to.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
having a fun place to work is huge.
yeah. What services do you provide in the financial industry at the moment?
Yeah. So I specialize in personal risk, which obviously life insurance, health insurance, income protection, trauma insurance, those sorts of things, and also KiwiSaver
Yeah,
managed funds. Yeah.
yeah. How do they mix in together, do
Yeah.
you
Good.
think?
Good question.
Because obviously you do both.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, lots of people come to us just wanting advice on one particular product. So whether it's they've inquired about income protection, and when you actually break the situation down, um, maybe they actually don't just need income protection; they need a bit of life insurance, a bit of trauma insurance, and then the way that KiwiSaver slots into that, is that, your insurance is, first of all, there's a few ways. That
mm,
your insurance is Plan B, right? So something bad happens, your insurance is there to back you up. But hopefully you never need to use Plan B, but you want to make sure it's set up properly. And then Plan A, you get to retirement, you've never need to use your insurance. You want to have a big nest egg there so you can actually enjoy your retirement and not scrape by. And setting up your KiwiSaver is massive, right? Like
yeah,
fund types, won't go into the dirt of it too much, but the difference between a low risk fund and a high risk fund, or a growth fund and conservative fund, drastically impacts your retirement, how much you're going to have in savings when you retire.
yeah. Cool, cool. Well, what kind of like sets you different between, say, like Jared at Invicta
Mm.
or Jill at Westpac, for example?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think Jill's probably a lovely lady, first of all, and she's just doing what she knows. But the difference between going directly to a provider who offers a service like KiwiSaver is they're obviously going to recommend their own products. Whereas with us, being a brokerage, same as like a mortgage broker, which is more commonly known to people, is we can work with a range of the providers and then choose the one that's best suited to you and your values. A good example of that is ESG investing. So companies that are investing in doing things that help the planet, and don't harm the planet. There's specific providers out there which do make sure that your investments in your KiwiSaver aren't going towards anything like that.
Yeah,
And without talking to somebody like us, you wouldn't know that was an option.
yeah. Okay. Who's your favorite provider? No, we won't answer that.
I couldn't answer that in all honesty.
Yeah.
There's a few good ones out there.
Yeah, it's kind of what I hear is that it's all about the client's needs and their situation and stuff like that.
Mm,
Like for me, say if I really liked provider X because they're really good at the environment stuff, they're
yeah,
really good at returns, but then that might be completely different to someone else that way rather like lower fees or like putting money back into New Zealand and
yeah,
stuff like that. So I think like your values builds a big part of the provider that you want to be with.
definitely.
It's the same as like work, right? Like you want to be at a workplace that fits the core value for yourself. If it doesn't, you're probably better off somewhere else.
Yep.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think that an example of that could be returns, right? Like, if you chase returns with KiwiSaver, you're always going to be chasing your tail. Whoever was first in returns last year, there's no guarantee they're going to be first next year. So if you find a provider whose returns are always solid, maybe they're not always first, but their values align with you, then that's going to be the key determining factor as to who you go with and who's going to be right fit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And I do think that providers should stop advertising that they're number one.
Yeah.
It's
Hot take.
annoying.
Hot take. It's pay to win, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, marketing's a big part of it, right? And I think the double-edged sword to that as well, though, is advertising that they're number one might be switching them away from another provider which wasn't so good and getting them in touch with a financial advisor. So
Yeah.
advertising they're number one, it's so, but if that gets them into a position where they're in front of a financial advisor talking about fund type options and educating them around KiwiSaver, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And if that number one badge is what they have to do to get people in the door to financial advice, then I'm okay with it for that reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell like when I meet with a client around like KiwiSaver that wants to like move around too much,
Yeah,
I always just say like think of it as like a marriage. Like no one could ever pick the top of the market. It's all about just being there for long enough time. Like every time you get a divorce, for example, you lose half your stuff.
yeah, true.
So why do you want to keep switching providers where you could just pick one now and
That's
just
true.
work
Yeah,
at it?
no, that's true. The
Get
one and
therapy.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, just don't be that 50%.
I see what you're trying to say. Yeah,
Cool.
that pretty much wraps us up. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next one.